Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Welcome to this return broadcast, what I hope is going to be a much more stable broadcast than yesterday. Not going to get into that. It was not a pleasant day for me, but hopefully everything should be lying down and should be nice and safe. Here today, this is going to be a From Replay cast of Kaipi taking on Fnatic. Now, these two teams squaring off a very interesting matchup for a number of reasons. Let's begin with Fnatic. Fnaticers played today a team that was on top of the world in the late months of winter, but which has been struggling a lot in the early months of spring. One of the most consistently dominant teams on the planet from January through March. They now find themselves on the ugly side of 500, sporting an unimpressive 6-8 record through April. For all of their struggles over the last 30 days, though, Fnatic is a team that is often a victim of their own success. Part of the reason they find themselves on losing streaks like this is because they're always in the playoffs of every single event they enter, taking on teams in long stretches. Such has been the case for the last couple of weeks when they found themselves in the postseason of the Raid Call D2L, EMS 1, Star Series Season 4, all, again, just in the last 3 weeks. Their recent numbers don't look great, but when you look at their actual finishing positions in overall events, they're still one of the most consistently impressive teams in the West, and they'll be looking to add a G1 postseason appearance to their spring resume if they can get past Kaipi today. Now, Kaipi is a team with a lot of hype around them, and justifiably so. Since the addition of Eternal Envy, they've been on an absolute tear and have become arguably the fastest rising star in Western Dota. They've played 19 times so far this month and have gone 13-6 across April, which is even more impressive when you look at the list of teams they've beaten recently. Liquid, Empire, QPad, and Evil Geniuses all in the last week alone. They're arguably the highest profile unsponsored team in the scene right now, and today they have a perfect opportunity to continue turning heads and dropping jaws as they look to prove they deserve a seat at the table with the big boys of Dota. Now, Kaipi did knock out Empire. And this was, of course, before Empire started going through their roster problems. That's a team that I think we're all keeping an eye on. I really hate to see what had happened to Empire, but again, that's the sort of thing that whenever you have roster shifts, it can oftentimes just slowly reach a boiling point, and you end up having an excellent team disband, or in the case of Empire, more or less just completely splinter itself in half. So, but at the same time, you have the situation where Kaipi adding Eternal Envy after the well-documented falling out that was there between No Tidehunter, now known as Alliance, and Eternal Envy, and really EE has done a great job of giving Kaipi exactly what they needed, a little bit more leadership. I mean, and again, I don't know Kaipi that well. I've broadcasted them a few times, but up until the last week or two, I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to them. I just hadn't seen them play a lot, at least firsthand. And seeing them now, they just seem like a much more directed team. One of the terms I often use whenever I talk about play styles is deliberate. They play deliberate Dota, especially in comparison to where they were, 6 months ago, which is honestly probably the last time that I broadcasted them live in person. So the way they play tends to be now with a very set and executable plan. They tend to set themselves small goals on the way to a bigger goal. And when you can take a play style like that, the problem with a play style like that is if you're knocked out of your rhythm early, it's really hard to recover and get things back on track. But if you're able to just take it bit by bit, piece by piece, 5 and 10 minute chunk by 5 and 10 minute chunk, you can get wins against these big teams. And again, that's become a calling card of Kaipi. They've just hung so many upsets on so many squads. So taking a look at where we are with the ban and the pick phase right now. And I'm going to hope, am I dropping again? I just had a disconnect notice, actually. I think we're going to be all right. Excellent. Okay. That was just a side program, it would seem. So sorry about that brief interruption, guys. I just saw something pop up that one of the programs I have running in the background disconnected for a second. So hopefully that's not going to affect the broadcast here. But moving on, back to the draft, the ban and the pick phase for Kaipi and Fnatic. We can already see Fnatic taking out the Bad Rider and the Keeper of the Light. Wisp and Magnus taken out by Kaipi. Kaipi does land themselves a Nyx Assassin. That allows Fnatic to pick up a Lifestealer and a Bane. So that Bane pickup coming out maybe a little bit early for Fnatic. That's a hero they're very comfortable in running and a hero they do run very consistently. Probably the big reason they pick him up here is just to make sure Kaipi can't get their hands on him. And when you're talking about heroes that are really good counters to Lifestealer, and wow, they're actually not going to take the Shadow Demon. Shadow Demon is one of the more excellent counters to a Lifestealer and would have fit in well with any lineup they wanted to put together based around that Nyx Assassin. Instead, they opt to grab the Leshrac and the Prophet, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But Bane and Shadow Demon, arguably the two most potent counters to a Lifestealer. And to get that profit in that Leshrac, they had to give away a Druid and a Bane. That is actually pretty startling. Druid and Lifestealer, I feel like, in terms of carries that have that are mostly loaded up with mid and late game carry potential, those two heroes might have more synergy than any other two carries in the entire game, at least based on what I've seen out of most teams and the way they handle them. What makes those heroes work so well together is the built-in flexibility and versatility you have in your laning phase, and the fact that they really relieve a lot of pressure off of each other as well. When you have a Lifestealer, it's very, very easy to offensively tri-lane and just build a tri-lane around him. He's one of the more effective offensive tri-laners just because Rage in the early stage just makes it so hard to kill him even when his health pool is relatively low and he doesn't have a lot of items. And if you can offensively tri-lane and do so effectively, freeing up safe lane farm for the Lone Druid, that's almost always going to be your most optimal situation. So with that pickup, they're going to have a chance to pick up another support here to go with the Bane if they want to. Looking at Kaipi, when I look at what they have, obviously push and split push is going to be the order of the day. What I worry about, though, is, they're going to be able to get themselves a carry and give themselves some late game potential. In fact, the last time I broadcasted Kaipi, we saw Eternal Envy play a very, very potent anti-mage. So that's something they're comfortable in doing as well, and that honestly would probably fit in quite well, given that anti-mage is a renowned split pusher in his own right. Then you have Leshrac and Prophet, the global presence of Prophet with the inherent push potential of Leshrac, especially early on if you want to try to take an early tier 1 tower. That would allow them to just play a map control kind of game. And again, that kind of comes into what I was talking about, the way that they seem to play, or at least the way that they seemed to play the last time I broadcasted them, is they set small goals that are 5 and 10 minutes into the future instead of just having a big overarching plan. And so long as they can keep those dominoes falling, they tend to be in pretty good shape. And they do have some playmakers on their team as well. Envy's not bad, but I was really impressed with the Rise the last time I had a chance to see him. Landed one of the best reverse polarities I've ever seen in competitive Dota. So, looking at the bans as they continue, Fnatic takes out the Clockwork. They don't want to have that hero there to counter the Lifestealer. And, they don't even have to worry about the Shadow Demon. Now, in fact, Shadow Demon would work really well for them if that's the direction they wanted to go. The Leshrac already picked up by Kaipi. That's a hero that does synergize really well with Bane and Lifestealer in particular. Lina might be a support option they want to look at if they're not in the mood for the Shadow Demon. But I'm still just a little bit stunned that Kaipi opted to skip the Shadow Demon against the Lifestealer. Shadow Demon's ability to just disjoint Lifestealer's entire chain of initiation is remarkable. What he tends to do is wait for Lifestealer to use open wounds on a target, which is, it's always the same with an LS. Lifestealer just wants to tunnel vision one extremely high priority hero, open wounds, rage, get on top of them, blow them up as quickly as possible. That's why you see Lifestealers almost always build an armlet. And then when the rage wears off, fall back, get out of the fight, wait for rage to come off cooldown, then do it again. But what a Shadow Demon can do is wait for a Lifestealer to commit to rage and to open wounds a target, then disrupt that target as he throws out Demonic Purge onto the Lifestealer. And all of a sudden, you have a Lifestealer who can't get on a target. He can't really retreat because he's slowed so badly. Rage doesn't help because it goes through magic immunity. And, but yeah, as we saw, Kaipi just opting not to go that direction. They are going to grab Tinker, though, so you want to talk about a little bit of global presence, a little bit of split push potential. They got it in heaps. Prophet and Tinker alone make it very, very difficult to turn your back on Kaipi at all. And they're still looking for a carry. And, a Void could work as well. Honestly, at this point, they may as well go with an anti-mage. Just say, you know what? We feel confident in our ability to punish your positioning with every hero we have, basically. Nyx Assassin, the only exception to that. Nyx Assassin, though, he plays into it in a different way. Nyx Assassin, if he gets a quick 6, if he stays on par with levels, if he gets the items he wants early on, he's a hero that can force the enemy to play a little bit more cautiously than they would like to. And playing cautiously, staying grouped up, staying in tighter packs is the way to open things up for abuse by split push. So, it all does work together for Kaipi. The only problem I have is if they stall out at all. If when they get going, they lose their lanes, or they end up breaking even in towers in the first 25 minutes as opposed to taking a lot of towers. And now with the Night Stalker, that's even more ability for Fnatic to just deal damage to Kaipi early on with relatively few items. Kaipi can't afford to run out of momentum at all. If Tinker's slow to his bots, if Nature's Prophet is slow to whatever his item build is going to be, but more, it's going to be a lot more about the map control than it is anything else. And if Fnatic's able to at least stalemate them in that regard, keep their towers up and keep things stabilized, the Lifestealer and the Lone Druid are going to be able to farm their way to beating any carry they pick up here. I mean, Tinker is kind of a carry in his own right just because of the fact that Rearm allows him to chain hex. I mean, if you want to buy a Dagon, you want to talk about a lot of magic damage you can have off of Rearm and so on and so on. But in terms of just a get in your face and throw a punch kind of a hero, Kaipi will be picking one now. But they're not going to be able to go toe-to-toe with a Lone Druid and a Lifestealer and a... Oh, okay. It's an Ursa. That's fine. And that's okay. I mean, all that does is that's Kaipi saying to Fnatic, yeah, we are all in on the 30-minute mark, basically. Ursa, I mean, he's a pub stomp hero for a reason. The hero can get completely out of control if he's handled correctly. The only problem I see with this, though, is, again, Kaipi has a team that doesn't have any real form of initiation, any real solid form of initiation other than Ursa face tanking in. They don't have a reliable way to deal with the Lifestealer when those two go toe-to-toe. And Nightstalker is going to be able to silence the Ursa. So when I look at how Kaipi is going to look to take these fights, they're going to want to split push and open the map up. But at some point, they're going to have to fight. And I feel like, I mean, and Bane in and of itself is a counter to Ursa in a very big way. And now with the Undying picked up, it's just basically the rich getting richer. Undying makes it almost impossible for Kaipi to stand and fight, even with March of the Machines. March of the Machines is a pain in the ass, but so is Tombstone. And with Tombstone, it's going to be useful very early. Undying's not going to be particularly all in on levels or anything like that. Oops, and hang on. That's not me controlling the camera. There we go. It's the first time I've ever casted from a replay, actually, so hopefully there aren't too many other issues I didn't think to plan for. But back to the Bane. The Enfeeble off of Bane in and of itself is a gigantic counter to Ursa because it is not removed with magic immunity. So even if Ursa rushes a BKB, if Fnatic's able to get the jump on the Ursa, he's going to be enfeebled, and he's basically Ursa can't do everything. Is the way to put the problem that I see for Kaipi into words. He can build survivability and magic immunity with the BKB, but then he's not building damage, which he needs. He can build damage, but then he won't have a BKB. Then he won't have cutesy items like a Shadow Blade if they want to go that way, a Blink Dagger, so on and so forth. And they have a lot of options in how they can look to build the Ursa. But he really needs to kind of be good at everything just because they don't have a Magnus, they don't have a real good initiation from a Puck or anything like that. And most of the initiation is going to be Ursa just rushing in, Tinker hopefully throwing down March of the Machines, and then Kaipi hoping they just have a positioning advantage over Fnatic. And the way Fnatic can deal with that is just to go, you know what, we've got a lot of damage. And I do mean they have an immense amount of mid-game damage. You're going to have your Nightstalker almost certainly in mid. Yep, Hani's going to be handling it there. The Lone Druid is going to be doing his own thing. He will have the solo safe lane. Yeah, this is exactly what I predicted out of Fnatic, was building an offensive tri-lane around Era's Lifestealer. And this tri-lane, it doesn't even have to go that excellently. If they just break even, it's going to be a win for them because the Druid's going to bring push power of his own no matter what he builds. Would imagine it'll be an armlet into a Maelstrom sort of an approach. And yeah, this is just a worrisome draft for Kaipi for me. They have a lot of things that can go well for them. But anytime you're in a situation where the lanes are a little chancy for you, I mean, Tinker versus Nightstalker, he should do fine here. It's not going to be the biggest deal in the world. Druid versus the Prophet, Druid should win this. And but you know, Ursa's lane presence is not that impressive early on. He really needs a couple of items up to feel that scary. Phase boots among them, just the ability to get on someone and stay on someone, pretty necessary. They do have a nice combination though, with the Nyx and the Leshrac. If they're able to lead off with an Impale, follow it up with the Split Earth, and then allow Ursa to close the gap and get an Earthshock off. But again, the big problem with that is they just have so many ways to make it hard for Kaipi to fight. Tombstone will probably be level 2 for the Undying. And then Era, who still has a place to point, most likely will get 1 point in open wounds and then 1 into rage. And at that point, it's just so hard for them to lock Era down in particular. And so long as No-Tail and Fly stay in a good position, Era should be able to rage his way out of any trouble or pick their moment and engage correctly off of that. So this is going to be a very active defensive tri-lane for Kaipi, and a very important one. Ursa cannot afford to get off to a bad start. Pile Die doing a great job of mana burning No-Tail down. And if he can continue to keep No-Tail's mana pool low, that's going to be a huge win for Kaipi. Just take away the threat of the Tombstone going down. He's not even level 2 yet, so they don't have to worry that much about it, and he has shown that he did take Decay first. But any mistake, really, out of Kaipi could put them miles behind. Haven't run through the lineups yet. Believe I will. Don't think we're going to see a fight anytime soon. We're going to have Zizou handling our Leshrac. Tinker going to be played by our Ryze there in mid. Pylite Die going to be handling our Nyx Assassin. Eternal Envy handling the Ursa. And it looks like Bybone going to be handling our Nature's Prophet up at top. On the other side of the river, Bane going to be played by Fly. Undying will be handled by No Tail. Era, as expected, farming up the Lifestealer. Lone Druid played by Trixie. And in mid, going to be Hani on the Night Stalker. Now, you know, another problem that is worth mentioning is depending on what the Night Stalker wants to do. Does he want to spend his first night farming and just look to hit a nice stride in the mid game, or does he want to get very active? He's going to be able to get active very confidently at the 6-minute mark when the sun goes down, if he wants to. He doesn't have to. This tri-lane should do just fine against Ursa. And yeah, we can already see 12 last hits to 6, and this is not likely to get any better for Ursa so long as Fnatic doesn't make a mistake. If they play stable, they don't allow Eternal Envy the chance to use Overpower, to use Fury Swipes, and et cetera, et cetera. If they're able to do that, Eternal Envy's not going to be off to that good of a start, at least in comparison to Era. Top of the board, on the other hand, is going to be dominated by the Lone Druid, and that's what we expect to see. Nature's Prophet, not doing bad. He's got 11 last hits at this point, but the Druid should just basically get harder and harder to deal with as the bear levels up. So that's probably going to be either a mark for Kaipi to begin bouncing the Druid around, looking to make something happen in this bottom lane, or to just send him right to the jungle if it gets to be a little too hard to deal with. 3.5 minutes in, and there's Overpower charged up by Envy, waiting to use it if he can. And he's just going to use it to get last hits, and that's quite fine, really. So long as he's overpowered like that, Fnatic really has to be careful. There's just so much damage output that they would have to eat if they happen to make a mistake and get caught by a stun. But so far, very, very quiet. Here in mid, we can see Tinker is winning. He's ahead 19-17. Doing quite well, but Hani is not being interrupted out of his farm hardly at all either. So the top of the last hit board dominated by the heroes you would expect to dominate it. Again, of all the farming heroes, though, Envy is having the most trouble right now. He's missed a couple of last hits he didn't really need to miss. But in the end, that's not going to be the make or break. What's probably going to determine the outcome out of this lane more than anything is the first time Prophet decides to come down, or if No Tail decides to drop, do something like this. He's got an invis. If they're able to catch a hero napping here, get a tombstone down and get a good engagement off, and just get a kill, that would be enough to really set Kaipi back. And we can see No Tail is going to go ahead and come out here. They're thinking about it. He's body blocking him a little bit. Just letting him know, yeah, I'm here, bro. You can't see me, but it's cool. Always watching over your shoulder. 5 minutes in, still nothing much to report on the front of kills here in mid. Taking a look at Ryze's build. He is maxing laser with just 1 point into March of the Machines, which I don't mind delaying maxing out March in this situation when, by all accounts, it seems like it's going to be a very quiet early game. It gives you a little bit of more ability to mess with your matchup in mid. The miss percentage that comes off of Laser Beam can rob a few last hits. Of course, Era actually manages to take that away from him. But it can actually allow you to not only do damage, but to mess with their last hits. We can already see Hani having to use up what remains of his regen. Does have a bottle. A Ryze is either crowing it. Yeah, he's crowing it. So he's got his own bottle up. But very important for him, as he should be on his way to a very quick Boots of Travel. And that's going to open things up along with the global presence. And here's the tombstone. They're going to go for it. Era eats all that damage. Here's the Earthshot, but remember what I said about the rage? Oh, Envy. Yep. First blood, going to go the way of No Tail. And yeah, Prophet just can't do anything at this level. He's got 1 point in the Sprout. But good split Earth from Zizou. They just don't have the damage. With Ursa gone, there's just no damage they're going to get. Oh, good Impale! Pylite died, just bailed his buddy out and pulled off the body block as icing on the cake. Here comes Envy. But, at any rate, we've got a dive on a Ryze in mid. Hani's going to clean him up, and will be able to make it away with 32 hit points. So Tinker does end up dropping. We can see the deaths on the board belonging to the Prophet, to the Bane, and to the Leshrac. But yeah, that's what I was concerned about when I saw the way this lane was going to work out for them. And we saw it in practice there. Era, as much damage as he ate from the Fury Swipes, or excuse me, from the Overpower, And, well, in conjunction with the Fury swipes. It just wasn't enough to burst him down, and he was able to rage through everything else. And to say nothing of being able to heal up off of open wounds to begin with. So this lane, which was already a little sketchy to begin with, is going to be a little bit more chancy now. Prophet coming down and dying certainly doesn't help much. And we can see in the net worth, the top 3 all belonging to Fnatic, and now they're going to go ahead and engage again. Pylai die. Pops the Carapace. Don't think it's going to matter. Yeah, he's dead for sure. Undying going to take that kill. And these are the kind of mistakes they can't make. And now, yeah, here's Hani, and this was kind of what I anticipated too. He's going to be free to do this, and do so really easily. There's the silence on the Ursa. Now what's he going to do, really? This draft out of Kaipi, and, you know, I talked about it during the draft phase. They have the ability to do some things really well. The problem is, with that Ursa pickup, they're all in against a lineup that can do so much damage at this stage of the game. And, you know, it's a good draft out of Fnatic, but to be honest, it's more of a outdraft by Fnatic. Oh, wow, Hani might actually end up biting off more than he can chew. He will be cleaned up, so. Diving into the Tier 1, sometimes it works out. That time, not the case. But already, we can see, and the Ursa is really the one that's hurting right now. That's what's worth mentioning more than anything. He's at 22 last hits. He's got less than the Night Stalker, who's been spending time bouncing around now. Ursa has to have his items. He just has to. And, you know, he's almost level 6, which will help a bit. But yeah, I mean, he's still not even on phase boots. He needs 300 more gold until he's able to pick up his other claws of attack. Nyx Assassin denies the top Tier 1 in the meantime, so at the very least they get a win there, or at least as good of a win as they can. Era already has an Orb of Venom sitting on phase boots and a Helm of the Iron Will, a Helm of Iron Will, I should say, on his way to an armlet. So he's definitely won this lane here in mid. Tinker's done well so far, but again, Soul Ring, yeah, he's going to be about 1,300 gold away from his boots of travel. Arise is just going to have to accomplish a lot once he's able to start bouncing around. He's going to have to really do what he can to set Fnatic back and keep them from feeling like they can play as aggressive as they are. No tail there with Fly. That's a no man's land. They don't get spotted out. Lucky for them. A lot of manpower, a lot of personnel from Kaipi there in that mid lane. In the meantime, Era just continues to farm it up and is quite comfortable. Now we're going to have No Tail caught out. They do manage to clean him up. Here comes Hani. Carapace does buy him some time. Here comes Ursa. Oh, good nightmare from Fly. They will be able to clean up the Nyx. And Hani going to go north while Bane goes south. And they're going to re-engage right on the Zizou. There's the silence. Earthshock's there. They're doing the damage, but with Era there to clean it up. Now the open wounds. Envy going to try to get away. Nope, never mind. Stun on Void right off of cooldown. And I even talked about this during the draft as well. Bane, I mean, picking an Ursa into a Bane is so chancy. It's not even the Enfeeble that's hurting him right now. Just good nightmares. The ability for him to kite that hero out. And Fnatic is kind of just running over Kaipi at the moment, to be perfectly honest about it. Now we're going to see Hani take on his first passenger. And Arise likely to be the target. He's going to spin March of the Machines. That should be enough to maybe make him think twice about it. They are under cover of an Invis. Oh, Zizou. That's unfortunate. That's a killing spree for Era. We're only 10 minutes into this game. And the Tombstone's going to go down immediately. They're going to look to push off of this. Everything going the way of Fnatic is there now. Wow, that's a bizarre Tombstone placement, actually. Didn't think that was in tower range, but it was. And Hani going to eat a rocket before he TP's out. And looks like Pylai Die's been spotted out. Trixie doesn't have a lot of health, but they are pursuing him. And Carapace is down, but I don't think it's going to matter. Right now, the movement of Fnatic is just much better. The draft, much better. The execution, much, much better. We're at 11 minutes in, and the goal graph not looking like a happy story for Kaipi. 5,000 to the advantage of Fnatic, coming up on 5,000 experience as well. And Envy still sitting on brown boots and a blade of attack. Or claw of attack. That's, you know, really just unfortunate for him. Fnatic showing, and this is, you know, a hallmark of Fnatic as well. They draft strong, they play aggressive, and this is right in their wheelhouse too. Wow, Tombstone gonna go down. No tail. Whoa, dodges the impale. Stutter steps it. Gave him the old juke in the tree right there. Said, nope, oh, I can't draw on the map in replay mode. That sucks. Didn't know that. But anyway. Manages to make it back to safety. In the meantime, Envy looking to get a little bit of gold going. Wants to bring down the tier 1 bottom. We'll see how Fnatic wants to react to this. They're going to glyph it. It's still at just above half health. Armlet is done on Era in the meantime.
His bottom tower is under attack.
And they glyphed it and slowly making their way over. Here comes Hani. He's going to find himself a haste rune. No better rune, arguably, for a Night Stalker. They're going to get here in time to deny it. And they shouldn't. Yeah, now it's in deny range, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. They need to take down the catapult. There's another shot. Yeah, there we go. And the tower denied, so 1 deny for 1 deny. Tier 1 top for tier 1 bottom. Taking a look at Bybone, it looks like he does want a Midas, actually. He went phase straight up to Bassi. Now he's added a Glove of Haste. Now, I mean, I guess he could do something else with that if he wants to. He could even go something like a Maelstrom. I haven't seen that in a long time. Seeing a Furion pick up a Maelstrom just to give him some extra pushing power, but it is something that is an option to keep in mind, or of course could just be the Midas. Hani. His farm not spectacular, but then again, he's a Night Stalker, so he doesn't really need that at this phase of the game. He's got a Bracer and a set of phase. Bane sitting on his Arc Boots. Nice piece of blue boots to have for him. Our Leshrac sitting on brown boots. Not a whole lot to talk about. Now Trixie is banking his gold. We'll see what he wants to pick up. He's added phase to his inventory to go with his Orb of Venom. But what I want to know is what item he plans to pick up now. Given how far ahead Fnatic is right now, they might end up getting a Radiance. I hope they don't. I actually hate that item on Lone Druid. And I feel like I was ahead of the curve on that. I was bitching forever that the Radiance first standard Lone Druid build should fall out of favor and was going to fall out of favor. And it finally did. Much more typical to see Armlet into Maelstrom now. Just gives you such an easy way to transition through the mid game and into the late game. Gives you push power, allows you to abuse Demolish really, really well with the bear. But everything seems to have settled out, at least for a little while. Taking a look at Ursa, finally he's got himself a set of tier 2 boots. Those phase are up. He's going to begin the long road to his next item. And Fnatic going to try and make that road a little bit longer as they're under cover of smoke. Moving down to bottom. Just Envy here. He is under his tier 1, so he will have TP reactions if he wants them. And yeah, it looks like Envy, this is just good game sense. Just sensing, you know what, I can't even be out from under my tower right now. He's going to go ahead and back off entirely. Here in mid, Hani looks like he will be grabbing a BKB. He's got an Ogre Club on the way to it now. And in the meantime, Fnatic trying to just strangle them out. Pylite Die is going to spot Trixie and No-Tail here. And there's a TP coming in. No-Tail caught with Vendetta, and that's a very effective gank, well executed from them. But it may end up costing them a bottom tower, as Era and Fly are already there, and there's one rotating down in Hani. So they get the kill, but it's not a particularly high priority kill. The Undying is not a hero that's a big worry for them right now. And this is kind of what I was talking about during the draft and what I worried might happen to Kaipi. They have run out of steam. We're not seeing Tinker bounce around the map and split push. We're not seeing Prophet being super active. I mean, we saw a nice gank there, but they need to do a lot more of that, and they need to start pressuring towers. Because the map control is going to be going the way of Fnatic very soon if they don't. And we can see the Bears actually stealing. Yep, just stole some of the Ancients. Pylite Die gonna come up short with the Impale. And that tanky-ass bear gonna make his way away. He will be getting a armlet, by the way, so that makes me a happy camper. He's already got his Helm of Iron Will and the Glove of Haste on the bear. Back to the Prophet. He did go Midas. Now, getting a Midas this late's okay. It's not the end of the world. But I don't know what the purpose of the phase in Bassi before Midas was there, really. I don't know that the movement speed from phase or even the extra damage really helped him out that much. Might have been much better served getting up a Midas and just letting that investment begin to pay for itself back a little bit earlier. Taking a look at the last hits, we can see the top two do belong to Fnatic. That's Lone Druid and Lifestealer. And the problem is, it's not just that they have the top two. They have the top two by a lot. It's not like, okay, 115.93, then like 89. It's not that at all. 65 is the next highest on the board for Kaipi. And that's as that number inflated by Creep CS. We take a look at the net worth. Yeah, that's kind of the story of the game right now. Eternal Envy being more than doubled up in net worth at this point by Era. And Era's going to go ahead and grab himself a Sange. We'll see what he wants to do with it, if he wants to get a halberd or possibly just an S and Y. Don't mind the S and Y build. A little weird to see it to come out without drums, or a little different at the very least. But Fnatic now moving down to bottom. They want to try and bring the bear down. He is going to be grabbing a Vlad's, it would seem. He's got Bassi and Ring of Health. And Fnatic just trying to wait this out. Got to give Eternal Envy credit. He's struggled quite a bit. There's the Fiend's Grip. Tombstone's down. Here comes a TP reaction, but Era should be able to blow him up, and he will. And there's a Sprout that's off the mark. Tried to cast Sprout on a magic immune target, so it just went off. Did not hit the target. Zisu's in trouble. Tombstone doing its work. And we're going to see the rest of KP have to pull all the way back. Great Tombstone placement that time by No-Tail. Had a bit of a weird placement in mid. That time, though, got it down right where it needed to be. And in the meantime, we can see Trixie putting that bear to work. As the tier 1 mid will drop without contestation. Is that a word, contestation? Without being contested. How about we say it like you actually understand this language? BKB almost done now on Hani. He's about 500 gold out from it. Very important item for him, especially when you look at the team. And again, this was my concern coming in. KP just can't fight unless they just flat out catch Fnatic sleeping. They just can't fight. Sprout doesn't matter. The Ursa is not matching up well against Bane and the Lifestealer. We haven't even seen Druid involved in most of this, by the way. This has mostly just been Bane Undying, the Night Stalker, and Lifestealer getting all the work done. You can't help but feel like it would have made a lot more sense for KP to have just said, you know what, let's just pick an anti-mage, let's try to split push, and then we'll try to hit a timing window in the mid-game. This is going to help them a bit, though. They're going to end up losing Roche for free, and Trixie will pick up that Aegis. But they're not even going to get the tower, or if they do, it'll be denied. And both of them able to make it away. Nope, never mind. Tower does drop, so at the very least they get a tower in exchange for Roshan. Not the worst situation in the world. We're just south of 20 minutes in. Era, uses Infest. Is able to get himself out of trouble. There we go. Pops out. Use the wand charges. There's his armlet. All right, so he should be fine. And we saw Prophet thinking about it. Thought about coming in to try and get a kill. Probably thought better of it, and wisely so, given he had a lot of help around in No-Tail and Fly. But anyway, just south of 20, the goal graph continues to be all Fnatic all the time. Somewhere between 7,500 and 10,000 their advantage. The experience graph just north of 10,000. And, you know, looking at Kaipi's lineup, I just don't know what they can transition to now. The bear is sufficiently big that he can either start to fight or he can just push by himself. And Fnatic's honestly so far ahead, they can take 4-on-5 fights and probably win them. And this is where I look at this Furion and go, okay, so you didn't build a Midas early, you built it late. Wouldn't that gold have been much better spent towards a mech? Wouldn't that gold have been much better spent towards an Orchid even? To try and deal with the Lifestealer, or try to deal with the Bane, try to deal with the Undying if you can catch him out before he drops the Tombstone. And I don't see this game going long enough for that Midas to really put itself to use. Tinker, pretty barren in the cupboard department as well. And how often do you see that? I mean, Tinker should start to rise up the net worth tab pretty quickly most of the time. But he's actually below the Ursa, and Ursa's more than doubled up by 2 heroes on the board right now. So when you look at Kaipi's lineup, they just have to... They have to put on pressure, but they're so far behind they can't afford to, because Fnatic can honestly just go, oh, you want to take a tier 2? And yeah, Bybone just dies flat out. Even if they take a tier 2, Fnatic just go, that's fine, we'll push to Rax, because you're going to have to come back and try to fight us at some point. If we have all 5 together, you can't fight us right now. So they managed to get a kill on Bybone. And it looks like Fnatic's just going to be methodical about this. I'm actually a little surprised they're not spending more time in the enemy's jungle. They're not spending more time trying to dive towers like they honestly could be. They're just getting their farm. They're just taking their time and trying to stay safe. See Arise doing what he can to pick up what farm he can and split push. But yeah, this is kind of what I expect. Fnatic so far ahead, There's no reason for them not to just siege this tower and just methodically siege every tier 2 off the board. Just let the bear tank through this. Trixie's actually up front eating a lot of this too. And there's no way they can contest this. And they don't have the push power right now to do much except threaten a tier 2. And Fnatic is actually hanging back right now. They haven't reacted to the top yet. And we'll see how they want to handle it. Looks like it's actually going to be a Necro book by Bybone. That's a little bizarre. This item build just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I mean, Necro book's great, especially if you have a push-oriented lineup, but you've lost map control. You don't have the ability to reliably bounce around that much right now. Tinker's still way low, still just 1,300 gold in the bank. And Fnatic can honestly, yeah, we're going to see Fly engaged upon. And he should be blown up. No Tail drops down the tombstone. They've got 4 here. There's another miss on the Sprout, though. They do manage to bring down the tombstone, but now with Hani pursuing, even through the March of the Machines. Impale, well done. Good shot there, Pilot Eye. No Tail still right on top of him. Here comes Hani. And Carapace up. It's not going to matter. Silenced out now. And yeah, he'll be cleaned up. So all told, they end up going 1 for 1. This has freed things up for Bybone at the very least. They are trying to split push a bit now. And I hope he can put this Necro book to work. I really do.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
TP should be enough to ward him off. Bane there, yeah, Bybone just gonna bail. Taking a look at poor Ursa, who has been rather hungry all game. He does have his Vlad's up, 1,400 gold in the bank as well. The question becomes, what's he going to grab next? Is he going to get a Shadow Blade? Is he going to get a BKB? Honestly, BKB just doesn't do a whole lot for him. I mean, he's going to be able to be Fiend's Grip through Magic Immunity. He can't purge off Enfeeble if Bane gets that off first. So he may just go flat out damage and just bank on the fact that his team can execute in terms of split push and in terms of engagement. Tinker picks up a Blink Dagger first. And getting up a mobility item, perfectly fine with that. Hani, with his Passenger, he's got his BKB of his own. Now he's going to move down. And Arise going to go ahead. Spam out the March of the Machines. Looks like this could be bad for Envy. Oh, he actually turned south. So Hani, given the old look around, they will spot each other now. And there's the Void. There's the Infest out. And yeah, Envy dead. He did pick up an Ogre Club, so he will be getting the BKB. But again, I don't really know what the BKB... I mean, Magic Immunity... Oh, good route. Bybone should be able to make it away, though. And he will. But, again, I'm just not entirely sure that that investment has any chance to really get them back into this. I'd just about prefer he pick up a Shadow Blade and just look to blow someone up immediately in every fight. Because Bane, I mean, Fly plays a good Bane. He's not going to be out of position most of the time. He's going to be ready to throw out the Fiend's Grip at any given moment. But for now, 25 minutes in, the game goes on. Bybone still sitting on level 1 Necro Book. They've got 2 here around Fnatic. Pilot Die spotted out. Down goes the Tombstone. He will use Vendetta. And I don't think they have any detection. They don't, so they should be safe. Bybone able to make it away as well. I'm actually beginning to feel like Fnatic's playing a little too passive. And, I mean, yeah, they're moving together and they're getting kills, but they could honestly just be sieging the remaining tier 2s, and I don't think there's anything Kaipi can do about it. I mean, the most they'd have to worry about is a split push. But even then, again, if they're going to split push, fine, let them split push. Just push to their racks. They're just that far ahead. Gem now picked up on Hani, so Vendetta not going to be able to get Nyx Assassin out of trouble anymore. Halberd was the choice for Era, by the way. Don't mind that. Gets an Ursa. Ursa, the entirety, more or less, of the damage output that Kaipi's banking on at this phase of the game, and especially going later. If you can take him out of the fight, take him out of the fight. Boots of Travel, actually, to pick up on Trixie, too. That's fun. And instead of going Maelstrom, he picked up a Basher for the Bear. So definitely a mid-game oriented kind of a build. They want to fight. They want to fight early. Roshan should be back up here relatively soon. Druid did have his Aegis Fade. It looks like he's actually going to be getting a Vlad's of his own. So definitely going all in on the mid game with the item build. Mech should be complete on No Tail at about 700 gold, so he's making good progress. Fly hasn't added a whole lot. And we're going to see. And this is, this is what Kaipi has to do. They can get a kill on the Druid that's uncontested. It'll be great for them. And they certainly will. In the meantime, though, they managed to pick off the Prophet. And now it's a question of who can push faster. And the answer is going to be Fnatic. They should look to push the base here. I'd be surprised if they did. Yeah, they're just going to go for it. TP reactions coming in. There's a DD pop. The Glyph will be used as well. And they did react all except one. Ursa did manage to get the top towers, so Kaipi doing a good job there. That's going to be the BKB done for Eternal Envy. We'll see if he can put it to use. Looks like Fnatic might just go ahead and decide to turtle out another Roche. It's going to be 60 seconds before the big boys back up. Perhaps one more age is what they're looking for to give them the push potential they really want. Take a look at the gold graph. 10,000, about where things have leveled off in terms of gold. 14,000 in terms of experience. And we're just 28 minutes in, so I mean, it's not the most... Oh, very good Fiend's Grip from Fly. Gonna catch Bybone. And he'll be cleaned up again. Bybone has not had the best game in history. He's sitting at 0-4-5 right now. 6-0 on Era. 5-1 on Hani. 3-1 on our Druid. And back to the net worth tab. Top 3 net worth all belonging to Fnatic right now. It's actually, never mind. Night Stalker picked up the Vlads. Oh. Okay. I'm gonna guess that's a mistake. I was gonna say, what the hell was Trixie building? But yeah, you know what? It's K. We got 2 Vlads. We like Vladimir so much. We just want to support the fact that he's making such great offerings that we want to take 2. We just want to buy 2. Maybe they'll give 1 away as a Christmas gift. We'll see. But anyway, Kaipi still being tripled up by Fnatic. It's 18-6. And we are just south of 30 minutes into this game. Fnatic gonna be looking to put a cherry on it sometime soon. Level 3 Necro Book is done for Bybone, so he's been doing what work he can. With Roche back up, though, they're gonna go ahead and move on into the pit. And it looks like they do manage to pick off Trixie again. So, I mean, Kaipi, I feel like, is doing about as much as they can. You know, I talked about the fact they had to try and get some picks. They had to try and do what they can to open this map up. They just waited too long to do it. Or that's probably not even accurate. They just got behind a little too quickly. And by the time that they started to do it, it's just not enough to allow them to make up the difference. Roshan gonna go the way of Fnatic once again. And I would be surprised if Fnatic didn't just begin to push the base now. And this is, I honestly think they are making a bit of a mistake playing as passively as they have been. But this is the way you let teams back into a match. You know, don't let this be a game. Run away with this like you should. Basher done on the Lifestealer now as well. Mech done on No Tail. Gonna guess the recipe's on his way to him. Pile Die is under cover of Vendetta. And they're gonna go ahead and spend it. No Tail's gonna be there. There's Fly. Nightmare's 1. They will clean 1 up. And they're just gonna bail out now. Level 3 Necro Creeps leading the charge. They're gonna go for the kill on the tower. Oh, good deny from Era. Very good deny from Era. They're gonna eat some damage because of it. Taking a look at Envy. He's been anemic all game, sitting at 9,000 net worth. He has made up some of the difference. At one point, he was being doubled up, so it's not quite as bad as it was. But when you're talking pure late game potential, you don't want to see this game go past 40 if you're Kaipi. And I don't know that they can win in 9 minutes. Lifestealer, Lone Druid, Bane. Those 3 heroes are just going to shut you down. Especially with all the bashers. I mean, and that's the purpose for the pickups. And why Trixie picks up a basher instead of a Maelstrom is just to have the ability to put the bear on the Ursa, hope for a root, hope for a bash. And know for sure. And same thing with Era. It's like, okay, if he's going to get on me, I'm at least going to give myself an out. I'm going to give myself the ability to take him out of his steamroll formation. But anyway, Night Stalker, 3,000 gold in the bank, is yet to spend it on anything else. He's got a bracer of Vlads. And Phase Boots. We'll see what he wants to grab up. He may just get a Scepter. Wouldn't mind that at all. And wait for the next Knight to just go Berserk. He's about 1,200 gold away from that if that's the option he wants to pursue. Leshrak's working on a BKB of his own. He's got an Ogre Club, but not much else. Keep an eye on Bybone. I want to see what his next pickup's going to be. Honestly, at this point, the only real viable choice, I believe, is going to be a Scythe of Ice. They have to do something to get at least one of these heroes of Fnatic out of the fight. They have to have some way to take them out entirely. I mean, they've got okay methods-ish. They've got the miss percentage that comes with Laser from Tinker. They have the ability to blow one up with Nyx Assassin combined with Ursa and so on. But as these heroes tank up, that's going to be much harder and harder to do. 1,400 gold on our Druid, and we can see Fnatic is under cover of smoke now, looking for a target. And Pylai Dai hanging out near the side shop. Arise, bottling himself up. He is going to go ahead and blink back. And the smoke will be popped, so the jig is up. Pylai Dai still hanging around for the moment. Bybone is going to be getting that Scythe. He got the ultimate orb. But yeah, I mean, and that's no surprise. I don't know, man. I'm just not convinced that the Necro Book and the Phase Boots before Midas have been worth it at all for him. I just haven't felt a huge influence from him. And I think that's reflected in the scoreboard, sitting at 0, 4, and 6. He just has not contributed a whole lot. I mean, well, I guess, in fairness, he has been a part of 6 of the 8 kills that Kaipi has had. But the split push, for the most part, has been okay, but not the best. But we'll have to wait and see. Fnatic has been dancing around the map for a while now, and can only imagine they're waiting on second night, or third, fourth night, whatever night it is. Coming up right now. Yep, we can see it does dawn. And this should be the mark for them to go. The Aegis going to have, not a long time, another 2 minutes. If I'm in their shoes, I just push down this tier 2 bottom and push to the racks and look to get something out of that Aegis. Pushing into March of the Machine is very difficult to do, of course. Wow, they're just going to pursue him out. And yeah, arise, little bone, buddy. Tombstone tears down trees. Tried to be cute. Just didn't work out. Now, does he have buyback? If he doesn't have buyback, oh no. That's horrendous. Yeah, but it's going to have to be a base race. That or they need the TP right now. Like, they need to be coming home right now. Nope, they're going to base race. Glyphs popped. They're not going to push as fast as Fnatic. Yeah, and Fly's actually going to go back. And that's a little bizarre, actually. I mean, not that it matters. I mean, they're going to end up getting the tier 3, but yeah. At this point, Fnatic can just take 2 sets. I don't know why they wouldn't. They're going to look to keep their own up as a priority, and we're going to see Pylai Dai caught with Fiend's Grip. Trixie was nightmared as well. And the Rax does drop. So the Treant's doing their work. That was a bit of a bizarre choice to me by KP. Or excuse me, by Fnatic. They could have taken that mid set of Rax easily. Easily. Just rotated up. Taken down the tier 3 and then the melee Rax. Out of mid. And probably still had a chance to maybe defend. As is, though, it's 20-8. KP is hurting. Rax for Rax, an exchange they're not going to be super happy about, but it's better than nothing. Still just about 10,000 gold separating the teams. The experience near 16,000, 15,000, somewhere in that range. But, you know, the problem, if you're KP, if you want to trade Rax, that's fine, but it actually hurts you more as a team that's trailing in gold and is trailing in farm to lose a Rax than it hurts Fnatic. So even though, obviously, it's better than just losing your Rax for free, it's still not a win for you. It's not even a break even because you are actually hurting more from that than Fnatic's going to be. And yeah. And arise, buddy. That's 2 mistakes he's made. And without him there to fight, they honestly cannot fight without March of the Machines. There is no way that they can effectively contest a 5-man push from Fnatic without March of the Machines. They just can't. So that's twice now that Arise has died when he really couldn't afford to. And we're going to see a blink out here. They're going to catch Pylai Dai. He will be brought down very easily. And yeah, I mean, that's GG. Tinker does have buyback. but they're not going to be able to trade mid-racks this time. No way. Turtle Envy and company not going to give up. They do get a return kill on Era, so that's at least a step in the right direction.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
And the rack's now naked, but still. 2 sets of racks down. Zissou just blown up. Just ran into a big blue dude and a big old flesh golem. Back to our net worth tab. It's been the same 3 at the top basically all game. Prophet has made up some... Hey, he actually jumped up in there. Good for him. Up, hang on. We are going to have a couple caught out here. They do manage to grab Envy. Gonna guess it was the Fiend's Grip. Yeah, it was. Buybone buys back. Envy does not have buyback. Druid, in the meantime, has completed a Cuirass. But this game should be reaching its conclusion relatively soon. I'm actually surprised that Kaipi hasn't just called it. It'd be one thing if they had 2 carries instead of just the Ursa. That'd be one thing, but no way an Ursa is going to out-carry a Lifestealer and a Lone Druid. No way. Especially with a Bane, which has been played very effectively by Fly. Fly has been excellent in his positioning and in once he had the Blink Dagger up and taking chances, so on and so forth. They're going to go ahead and rush around. Fly is out front with no tail. And here we go. Ursa back up at 4 seconds. They'll probably contest one more fight. And there's a Scythe of Ice used on Era. Let's see if they can make something happen. BKB popped on Hani. He's going to engage onto Arise. Arise going to be blown up. In the meantime, Mech gets him back up and fighting. Buybone and Zissou got to fall. Not much they can do. And Ursa mauling on his brethren, but not much else accomplished. Not a single kill picked up there. Fly doesn't have Fiend's Grip, but he doesn't need it. And the GGs come out. 38 minutes it took them in a game that honestly was in Fnatic's control from the draft. And Kaipi, who has shown proficiency in some creative drafts, I'll be honest, I just did not like the way this game was drafted at all. From the moment the lanes were put together, it was just about a given that unless they dominated early, they had to end the game by 30 minutes, and they just picked it into so many heroes that counter Ursa. I mean, hell, Undying counters Ursa because of the slow on the tombstone. Night Stalker counters Ursa. And as it stands, 39 minutes, 27 seconds, the official game time. The final kill score, 9-28. Game number 1 goes the way of